with Equity Real Estate and Utah Home Sweet Home. And I wanted to take the opportunity to film this video answering a question I received from one of the viewers on my YouTube channel. The question was, when does a buyer take possession of a home? They were under the influence that when you go to the title company and sign the closing docs, that they would be handed their keys, the keys to their new home, which is typically not the case. There is a little bit of confusion. I'm not sure if it's confusion, but I guess there's a little bit of lingo that is used in the real estate industry that may confuse some people who are not familiar with the terms. And for example, you'll hear real estate agents, title companies, mortgage brokers refer to closing. They'll, a mortgage broker may ask their client, when are you guys closing? Real estate agents may tell their clients, we're closing on this day. Title companies will, use the same terminology saying, let's schedule an appointment for closing. When technically, what we're really doing when we go to the title company to sign those documents for the transfer of the new sale or purchase of your home, we're actually going to settlement. So technically, when you go to the title company and sign those closing documents, you're actually really going to settlement. Now, closing technically doesn't happen until after all of that paperwork has been signed, agreeing to the purchase or the sale of that property. So that has to happen first. Everybody has to sign agreeing to the purchase or the sale. Once those documents have been signed by both parties, then the financing institution, whether you're getting a loan from a bank, wherever you're getting your loan, it is only after all the closing documents have been signed will the bank then fund the transaction. And after it is funded, then the title company will actually go to the county assessor to record the transfer of the new sale, the ownership of the new owner. It is only after the funding and the recording that the home is officially closed. So closing doesn't happen till after settlement, after funding, and after recording. And it is after recording when it is now closed, at which point the new buyers get the new keys to the house. So if you think about it, when you go to the title company and you sign the closing documents, nothing's been paid for yet. You don't own a home if you haven't paid for it yet, right? So it's only after those closing documents have been signed where the funding institution, financial institution, is going to fund the transaction. You have to fund the transaction. You actually have to pay the sellers first before you can own the home, right? You haven't actually bought it yet. So after funding has happened, then the title company records that new ownership of the new home with the county. So wherever county you're in, here in Salt Lake County, title companies will record with the Salt Lake County Recorder's Office that there is a new owner for this home. And only after it's recorded, then is that person the new owner. So, can this all be done in the same day? Yeah, it can. Lots of times, if you go to the title company and sign the closing documents and execute settlement, if you do that in the morning, banks can typically fund shortly thereafter, and then the title company can record shortly thereafter, making all of that happen in the same day. Now, you have to keep in mind that banks, I believe their wire cutoff time, is 2 p.m. So if you signed your closing docs, you went and executed the settlement aspect of the contract, which is signing the closing docs, and you did that after 2 p.m., then unfortunately you're not going to be able to get most likely possession of the house because that property is not going to fund that day anymore. The banks aren't going to be making wires anymore after, I believe it's 2 or 3 p.m. Maybe different banks or different cutoff times. But if the cutoff time is 2 p.m. and you're signing your closing docs after 2 p.m., it's not going to fund till the next business day, which of course means it won't also record till the next business day because it'll only record after it funds. And so if you're signing your closing docs at 4 p.m. on a Friday, hoping to get the keys so you can spend the weekend moving in, unfortunately that's not going to happen. So the best way to make sure that you get possession of the home on the day that you sign your settlement documentation is typically to make an appointment as early as possible. So if you're hoping to get the keys that day, my recommendation, I usually share this with my clients, is if you want to get the keys that day, you may need to take the morning off of work or do whatever you can so we can make the earliest appointment possible with the title company to go sign the closing documentation. So I hope that makes sense. There are a lot of people that assume they're going to get the keys right after closing, when technically they're typically not going to get the keys till after it's funded and recorded. Now, I've been saying the word typical because that's a typical transaction, but there also is different scenarios where people may do a transaction where they agree to take possession a week later or 2 weeks later. You may actually fund and record but still not get possession till sometime thereafter. Of course, that's all going to be written out in the contract. If that's a situation that you may need to take possession later, or your seller is asking for you to take possession after because they need some time to move, or whatever it may be in your negotiations, that's obviously going to be written in the contract. But a typical sale where somebody's going to sell their home, a buyer's going to buy their home, typically that seller is going to be out of the house once they go to closing, which is technically settlement at the title company. All right, guys, I hope that makes sense. I hope that clears up some of the confusion that it may seem that a lot of people have on when they get to take possession of their new home. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to give me a call anytime. My number is 801-810-4475. And again, it's Joshi Shiraki with Utah Home Sweet Home and Equity Real Estate. And hopefully, moving forward, if you find yourself in the purchase of a new home, you can now plan accordingly on when you will get the keys to your new house.